I hate to say this, but I'm incredibly embarrassed right now as a Barcelona fan. If I was anyone a part of the team in terms of players, management, coaches, whatever, I would be humiliated right now after what we just saw in the Champions League final. 5-0 PSG smoked Inter Milan. I'm like speechless because first and foremost, I don't think Inter Milan this season was even that good. They didn't score a ton of goals. Their defense was their strong suit, but PSG also I don't think was that great this season. Don't get me wrong, they obviously had an incredible season. They won what, 3 trophies? Was it 4? I know they won 3. And obviously winning the Champions League and beating good teams. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I think Inter was just so unbelievably bad, and it shows. PSG showed us how important it is to have the right players in the right positions, and I'll get into that. We just saw a team, an Inter Milan team, with no superstars, has made the Champions League final 2 out of the last 3 years. Let that sink in. With no superstar players. Barcelona has had the greatest player in the entire world, the greatest player that will ever play the game of football, Lionel Messi. They've had unbelievable talent throughout the last 10 plus years, and they haven't made a Champions League final since 2015. It is now over 10 years. That is absolutely, it's despicable. There's no words, really. So what has to change moving forward, and what has Barcelona failed at in the years prior? And I do want to touch on the Champions League final briefly, just to kind of talk about PSG and what they've done successful and how Barcelona can maybe mirror some of this to try and finally get out of this, break this UCL curse and make it to a final, hopefully next season. So there's a lot to cover in this video. It could get controversial. Comment your thoughts down below. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. And then if you guys end up enjoying the video, feel free to like or subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate any support. Now let's jump in and discuss. Look, I've been saying this for a long time. It's the defense. That is Barcelona's Achilles heel, and it's not this year, it's not just last year. It stems all the way back for a long time, because when Barcelona, for example, the year they got embarrassed by Bayern in the Champions League, look at their defenders. They had like what, Nelson Semedo, an old PK. They had Jordi Alba towards the end of his career. Was it Longley they had? I mean, it was horrible, honestly. And I will say, I don't think Barcelona's ever really had a world-class 4 center backs for a long time. PK was a liability for the last several years he was at Barcelona. Ter Stegen has proven to be a liability. He's not a great keeper. Just looking at PSG alone, I mean, you have Marquinhos, a solid center back who's been their guy for the last 12 years. Brazilian center back. He's played forever, a very good veteran. And then 2 fast, attacking-minded outside backs with Nuno Mendes. They also have Lucas Hernandez. And then obviously they have Hakimi on the right, who's great. Barcelona has good defenders, but they're so slow, besides Balde. And we all know the keeper situation. Those will kill you. I don't know how it's not addressed. I don't know why it's not being addressed. I don't know why it's not the priority this season. Fix the defense. Real Madrid, for years, has had great defenders and the best keepers ever with Courtois and Casillas. They get great keepers and great defenders and good outside backs, and that's a huge reason why they're so good. Donnarumma, good keeper. It helps. Barcelona, very shaky keepers, slow center backs. It's just extremely frustrating. When we played Inter, they exploited that. And it's even more embarrassing because Lautaro Martinez is not fast. Marcus Thuram is not a good footballer. He's not good at all. He's fast and he's strong. If he was not fast, he wouldn't even be playing professionally. He's not a good player. And Inter plays like Atletico. They play that weird-ass like 5-3-2 formation where they have the 2 outside wing backs, and it's very strange. And I will say DeMarco and Dumfries, they're pretty fast, especially Dumfries is pretty strong too, but there's no reason those players are making it that difficult on Barcelona. Even without Koundé and Balde, it's genuinely embarrassing. And the high line was a part of that. So the fact that Barcelona isn't addressing this, it's going to be the same thing over and over again, because if you have a great defense and a good keeper, that will win you or can win you big matches in the Champions League. And I don't see them addressing that. And that's been a huge issue over the last several years. It was an issue when Barcelona blew the lead against Liverpool a couple years back in the Champions League, and they ended up losing that way. It's despicable, and it's a trend, and I don't know how they don't see this, and they're not investing in this because they have arguably the greatest team in the world with the best young talent, with Pedri and Gavi and Lamine Yamal and Cabarsi and Balde. You cannot waste your chance to win several Champions League titles with these players. Looking at PSG and Inter Milan in the final, honestly, Inter Milan, they didn't even deserve to be there. I mean, I guess they did because they beat Barcelona, but I don't know how they made it that far because they beat Bayern, they beat us. They looked like they didn't even care to be there. In PSG, they played really, really hard. And I think something that we can learn from this in a specific position, right? Dembele has transitioned a little bit to be their center forward this season towards like the second half and did really well. What do we notice and what can Barcelona take away? Dembele was not the best person on the pitch, wasn't even probably top 3 or 4. He was fine. He had a couple moments. He's a moments player. But I noticed when he played as the center forward, what did he do? He moved over to the right. He moved over to the left. He dropped back deep. He dropped to like midfield. And it would spread the pitch. It would create space. He would start the build-up and the attack. What does Robert Lewandowski do? He stands there in the box and throws his hands up and complains and whines and is honestly entitled and arrogant and doesn't create anything for the team. He doesn't even shoot the ball. That needs to be a priority. The fact that they aren't pursuing a number 9 is another astronomically stupid thing by this club. You do not have many great attacking options right now. You need to go out and find your replacement for Lewandowski because he is not it anymore. He's going to be 37 or 38. He doesn't move. Look what happens when you have someone he doesn't even have to be skilled, someone that works hard and moves and creates space around the pitch. Dembele, that's all he did all match. You didn't even know what position he was in. I'm not even saying he has to do half of that, but my God, even a third of that would change so much for Barcelona. He just can't do it. And I think when you're able to have players that can adapt and try these different positions, it works so well, which is why if Barcelona is going to sign a winger, let's put Rafinha as the number 9 and let's try him out there consistently for a few weeks in a row because I guarantee you it's better than Robert Lewandowski. It's not rocket science. I've been saying it for so long. Lewandowski's replacement, find another defender and find something to, yes, continue the high line at times, but you have to be very, very structured in the way that you do it and how you're doing it. It's the reason that they're not winning these big matches. They let up horrible, horrible preventable goals. And that's the reason why they don't progress in these big matches and in the Champions League. I really don't know what else there is to say about this. It's just extremely frustrating that Barcelona was not in the final, and we see a team like PSG, which is even, honestly, it's hilarious that Mbappe leaves and the same season he leaves, they win. It's just like incredibly ironic, but it's frustrating that, Dembele leaves, wins the Champions League 2 years later, and doesn't get hurt when he was hurt every other match at Barcelona. I want to know what you guys have to say. What else am I missing, or what do you guys think is the reason that's holding Barcelona back from Champions League success? Because Hansi Flick is the right guy for the job coaching-wise. But if a team like Inter is making the finals 2 out of the last 3 years, and then you look at Barcelona, something doesn't add up. So I want to know, what is it? Let me know. And then what were your thoughts in the final? I don't think PSG is as good as that scoreline says. I mean, good for them, I guess, but very, very frustrating, to be completely honest. So let me know what you guys think about this down below. I'll do my best to respond to as many comments as I can. I'll see you guys back here next time. Peace.